Uses and benefits of medicinal plants.
En este nuevo capítulo,
In this new chapter facing the events of the field, we are going to learn about this topic. Everyone is welcome to our program. Let's give way to our guest Carlos, to learn about this topic that many of our viewers they have asked us, so be very attentive.
Les presento mi huerta, yo tengo aquí.
I present to you my garden. I have here something that I began to dabble about 5 or 6 years ago. I started with a little aloe leaves and a little rosemary, that got so big, the issue with the plants, that in this at the moment there are more than 60 medicinal species.
Cultivo muy diverso.
So it is a very diverse crop. There are no amounts of plants, but there is a great deal of research on the properties of plants.
Y hemos conocido especies que son increíbles.
On the power of plants, and we have known species that are incredible. As you say, Paracelsus, plants are the stars of the earth. I have species here that are the ones that fight, let's put it that way, and the species that I have inside the greenhouse that we look at a little now, are species that are a little more careful and due to the thermal height.
Son especies que tienen que estar más guardaditas.
Due to the thermal flora of Santa Elena, they are species that have to be more guarded. For example, the tomato. There are other species. Lavender gives much better inside than outside.
El ajenjo es una de las plantas.
Wormwood is one of the most powerful plants I have known, beginning because it cleanses the liver, cleanses the blood, it is good for the musculoskeletal system.
Usted con 2 o 3 días.
You spend 2 or 3 days using wormwood, 2 or 3 days taking wormwood, without combining it with any other plant. There will be changes in the skin, there will be changes that if you have breakouts, acne, whatever you want, your skin will feel different and also your urine will be completely transparent, completely different. Wormwood, do not forget, one of the most powerful, is the natural antibiotic.
Este es el pronto alivio.
This is quick relief. Quick relief is a plant that is very easy anywhere. They also call it a cure-all. It is a sedative plant. Calm down. Most plants are calming. Let's say maybe 20% of the plants they are medicinal. They are activators. The rest of the plants are sedatives. So starting with this one, it is good to fall asleep. It is good for diabetics. It is good for the heart. It is good for diarrhea.
Fuera de eso es deliciosa.
Apart from that, it is delicious, and I always suggest it for when one has a pain, but does not know where, that something hurts, that something bothers you. This is your own plant, quick relief or cure everything.
Con un cidrón.
We continue here, for example, with a citron. This citron, in addition to being the most delicious and most famous, because of its delicacies, with an exquisite smell, true, it is also calming. It is used for respiratory conditions. It is excellent in the upper part. Digestive, but it does not constitute one of the 7 fine ones. Now we speak as I tell you about those. We continue, for example here, they can be in communion. Look how we can have a Santolina, next to a citron, next to an aloe vera stalk, next to a wormwood.
Por ejemplo, esta Santolina.
For example, this Santolina is also a kind of wormwood, which is the first thing I suggest to people when they are going to change pharmaceutical medicine. Let's say that, for homeopathic and plant medicine, what I suggest is that they
Que es un poquito amargo.
start with this plant, with wormwood, which is a little bitter, but how diluted it tastes well, and that cleanses the liver, cleanses the entire blood system, and apart from that, everything that is cleansing the blood and the liver involves having a good bone system and muscle system, so they are very complete plants. Apart from that, that one prepares it to receive a medicine that is different from the medicine that we are used to receiving. In any case, this has also been an investigation of many plants. There are all of them. For example, look at this. This is a plant that is widely known. O2. It's a pity I don't have the flower here. It's not in bloom, but it blooms very nicely. It's called geranium of scent, better known as aroma.
Esta planta la llaman la planta de las 7 potencias.
This plant is called the plant of the 7 powers, but not because it has 7 rare powers. No, it is because it simply works for all the 7 most important systems. The digestive system, the nervous system, the respiratory system, the skeletal, muscular system, the blood system, the nervous system and the endocrine system, everything. This template is spectacular. Outside it is delicious. It's a very feminine plant and it works very well in this climate. We have chamomile. It's true that we get shampoo from it. There are some plants, almost all the plants here, are for extracts and for shampoo.
La base, por ejemplo, del champú que es la penca de sábila.
The base, for example, the shampoo, which is the aloe vera stalk, in addition to many other properties, since it heals, for varicose veins, for the stomach, for gastritis, for burns, it is a very complete plant and it is the base, let's say, of this here.
De esto acá.
Well, we continue here, very special plants, for example, some of which I have met new, this plant is called or they call it penicillin.
Es una planta originaria del Brasil.
It is a plant native to Brazil and it is very special, it is analgesic and antibiotic, with that it has a lot of outside medicine, that hits gardens wherever you want. In Rio Negro in the east you can see this plant in gardens and it is not known much as medicine.
Pero, por ejemplo, para la gripita, yo me tomo.
For example, for the flu I take a little and all this, a little bit of thyme and a little bit of orozas, another plant that I have around as a surprise, and with that by flu and by symptoms, and it is a very special plant.
Esta es la lavanda.
We continue here, this is lavender. As I told you, lavender does a little better indoors in the greenhouse. Lavender is a plant that is useful for many things. It is especially useful for the digestive system. It is a sedative plant. It is the better to fall asleep. I call it the decision-making plant.
Para tomar decisiones. Usted se toma una infusioncita por la mañana de lavanda.
You take an infusion of lavender in the morning and you are calm. When you have many things to do, you simply take a little bit of lavender and the lavender calms you down. And he says, well, first, you, second you, and without any stress you solve everything, with this template. Also this plant, lavender is special, to cure acne, blemishes, dermatitis, dryness, beginning of psoriasis, and it is the best I have, as I tell you, to fall asleep, the best I have been able to experience. Here we are at 2,600, 2,580, between 2,580 and 2,650 meters above sea level. It has lower temperatures, but one gets used to the plants. They can be very beautiful out here, inside the greenhouse, as I say. It gives a little better than here outside, but outside the flowers a little more purple, as more special as in essence.
Vamos a aprender de algunas labores.
Next we are going to learn about some tasks that are carried out with medicinal and aromatic plants, for example irrigation, and be very careful because if you have heard about allopathy, then we are going to learn how to take advantage of it in crops.
A veces la gente se pregunta.
Sometimes people wonder what I can combine or what is better if having a monoculture or having a giant variety. For me, for example, it seems to me that the best thing is to have variety, because there is allelopathy.
Las propiedades que.
Allelopathy is the property that the plants, to coexist and that with their aromas, with their smells, make the other, the neighbor, well or not well.
Bien, cierto. Y la allelopatía.
And allelopathy is also like the union of plants. It is the closeness that you can have between them. Pest control can even be done with allelopathy. There are those who, for example, plant strawberries, with onion or garlic, and with that they make the slug go away. For example, potatoes can be planted with radish, and in this way the mojo joy, the potato, is not eaten.
La lavanda se siembra al lado del tomate.
The lavender is planted next to the tomato, and in this way the tomato or does not give it fungus. Where you have a lavender there are no bugs on the sides. Because lavender comes from the most powerful allelopathic plants. What's up, right? So, for me the ideal thing is to combine it because one protects the others.
Esto es un cultivo 100% orgánico.
This is a 100% organic crop with many difficulties at first, but with organic fertilizers, organic fungicides and organic insecticides, we have been able to control, and we have been able to have bushes giants. For example, look at this mugwort. For example, look at the rosemary. They are very large, very pretty, if very healthy plants.
Los primeros pinitos de allelopatía.
Here we handle the first steps of allelopathy, and everything is an experiment. Here too everything is an experiment. It has been trial, error, until one reaches a certain point, and who knows the plants, knows how they are, can talk to them, you know exactly what they have, they know if they are already in their culmination process or not, or they know if it is in all its splendor.
Siguiendo el recorrido, aquí encontramos
Following the tour here we find several specialties, among them, for example, the King of Kings, which is rosemary. Rosemary is a very powerful plant, also the base for shampoo, of the most powerful extracts.
el romero sirve para dolores musculares.
Rosemary is used for muscle and joint pain to regenerate cells. Tissues are given powers to cure AIDS, cancer, and Alzheimer's. Rosemary is the plant that best removes phlegm. It not only removes digestive and respiratory phlegm, but also destroys it,
Que son las dos causantes de que las enfermedades.
which are the two causes of diseases remaining in our body. We then continue with rhubarb, which is a very exotic plant.
Exótica porque casi nadie, digamos, la cultiva.
Exotic because almost no one cultivates it. It is a plant that is toxic. It has toxic leaves, but the stems are delicious. They are for international pastry cuisine.
Una repostería internacional. Es una planta que trabaja también la demencia senil.
It is a plant that works also senile dementia. We have two others here. We have the marjoram, which is this. It is a kind of oregano, one of the most dear to me too, because it is a plant that is a cousin of oregano. They call it the joy of the mountain with all the oreganos. It is a plant that cures all infections of the respiratory system and sinusitis, rhinitis, pharyngitis, laryngitis, and bronchitis. In addition to that, it works very well in the digestive system and is a general analgesic. Apart from that, it is delicious and provides vitamins and minerals.
Bueno, aprovechando también,
Well, also taking advantage of the boom in trends, that there is a healthy diet,
hay muchas alternativas, digamos.
there are many alternatives. Let's say, for example, this plant is called orozas. It is one of the surprises that I have to tell you about. It is 50 times more sweeter than sugar. It is a very powerful plant called orozas. It was used by midwives in the past. It is good for the pancreas. It is good for the liver. You can turn the page and you will get tired of reading the properties that this plant has. It is a plant from Mexico. From the north of Mexico they call it the Aztec sweet. There are other populations that call it licorice. They call it licorice. We know it as orozas.
Y como les decía,
As I was saying, it is not only a very rich sweet, but it is very medicinal.
y no sé por qué
I don't know why. Like many anecdotes one has in this matter of plants, once a lady came to tell me,
a decirme, usted tiene esa plantica. Y yo,
"You have that plant." I said, "Yes ma'am, why?" I was a midwife and the births that I delivered in 12 hours, which took me more than 12 hours, with a drink this plant would deliver in 2 hours. Orozas, they are both called with Z so they don't forget.
Igual está la stevia.
The same as stevia, which we have right there. Besides providing that sweet flavor, it is not as harmful as sugar. Sugar has become almost the biggest addiction that we have.
Casi que más grande que tienen.
More than 60% of the population of the planet, sugar is one of the most tremendous addictions, and it can also be fought with this, which is pure medicine with stevia, with orozas, even fennel. It is also very sweet.
Vean, nosotros podemos tener.
Look, we can perfectly have very few plants. We don't have to have a giant orchard, but we can have our own medicine and we can have a very healthy diet with just a few plants. There are very powerful plants.
Plantas, hay plantas muy poderosas.
For example, there is orozas. For example, if we have some basil and we have fine plants, it's possible. I know it's perfectly possible. You can have organic crops. You can grow it with love, with awareness, and we can feed it and change your mood. For example, plants have helped me. Even the way of thinking has changed. I mean, even the way of being a happier, calmer person. This with more encouragement for health work. I haven't taken a pill for 5 years, and that is one thing. Well, so impressive for me to take a pill.
Impresionante para yo tomarme una pastilla.
Regresamos.
We came back. Next we will learn about other benefits, applications, alternatives, to use our medicinal plants. Very attentive to Victor.
La memoria ancestral de nuestros abuelos.
The ancestral memory of our grandparents have taught us and have shown us that through plants we can solve many problems of our health, Likewise, we can also solve the problems of plants on Earth.
Se pueden hacer biocompuestos.
Biocomposites can be made to counteract some conflicts that are found in nature with plants.
Se encuentran en la naturaleza con las plantas.
We can make elements for the skin, for the hair.
Cabello. Podemos hacer
We can make little waters for baths,
y así
and thus restore and regenerate some memory that has been lost over time.
perdiendo por el tiempo para hacer pomadas.
To be ointments, to make hydrosols, is based a lot on the memory of our ancestors.
Entonces, en esta
Then, in this invitation that is made to them is to come and share with us what is the abundant knowledge of plants.
abundante de las plantas.
Es importante entonces
It is important then, the management of weeds, which is done for example with a plant, this weed is removed, this plant that is very common, it should not be allowed to flower if you let it flower, it is a slave for the whole life of this plant. The important thing is that you throw these plants on the road, we throw these herbs on the road, we heal the plant well, let's say in the case of the stalk. The earth cannot be raised above this last leaf. It is one of the keys and you are, let's say.
ponemos aquí y esto se pudre.
In this one we put it here and it rots, we bring this litter the mountain rots and then we contribute from the same path and we fill it up again. Nothing is lost, nothing is lost, this is of impressive value, we can manufacture all the fertilizers we need from all the plants and from various little tricks. There is another, for example you can get Boniga. You can get some organic fertilizers and mix a fungus called mycorrhiza.
Y se mezclan con un hongo que se llama la micorriza. Pero hay que tener del 25 al 35%.
But you have to have the 25 to 35% of legumes, they trap nitrogen, they create pockets in the roots and trap nitrogen from the air, that is, we can have the three components of potassium, magnesium and nitrogen, in a completely organic way, by chopping the leaves bringing microorganisms from the forest and sowing, more than 25% legumes.
Llámese leguminosas, todas las que tienen vaina.
All those with pods are called legumes, all those with pods, such as beans, kidney beans, peas, all the plants that have pods. Those are legumes and they provide a lot of nitrogen. Clover proliferates a lot, it must be uprooted like the leaves, leaving the roots there because it provides iron to the soil, which provides a lot of iron.
Pero lo que se usa también es ciertas camas.
Many times one thinks that removing all the weeds works well, but what it is also used in certain beds over there, we can look somewhere where the St. John's wort is, one does not work in open soil, but the plants are kept up to here, well, the plant that it is involved here very close to this one. I remove it, but this is like the area of sun that the plant has. Let's say where we can see the best example, the plants require their little part of the sun, basically, they can have a very good percentage of humidity, if you work the lower floors with other plants, if you don't work these lower floors, you work with mint, with St. John's wort, with these creeping plants, you can maintain humidity very well and prevent weeds from always gaining ground over plants that don't need to be fine.
Que estén bien. Pues las plantas,
Plants can be used in many ways.
¿cierto? De muchas formas. Digamos que hay
Let's say there are teas, infusions, macerates, poultices, a whole series of medicinal ways to use plants.
entonces
Basically, plants for the respiratory system, for example, they can be spread and taken, for the healing are plasters, there are plants that have all those components that are healing, that are used for respiratory systems. How can we do them? Plants should not be boiled. Completely infusions, simply heat the water, pour the plants and turn it off, in order to have the extract is good, that is, make an infusion with a lot of power. The other thing would be to extract extracts by steam or to extract tinctures, which is also used to extract tinctures in oil, in alcohols, in vinegars, it is used to extract tinctures.
se usa sacar tinturas. Yo lo que hago es sacarla en arrastre por vapor.
What I do is to take it out by steam, which is one of the cleanest methods there is. which clearly leaves the extract of the plant. It is best to harvest the plants in the morning or at night. Hours of the afternoon and consume the fresh plants. Even fresh plants occupy a space,
Y cuando están secas, deshidratadas a la sombra,
a volume, and when they are dry, dehydrated in the shade. If the plants are not dehydrated in the shade, they lose their properties completely or almost all of them. So, if you have a volume of plants like this fresh, you must have a volume of plants like this dry. Half the volume of dry plants means the same power as the full volume of fresh plants. The other thing is that if you are going to help a plant, that is what I tell the growers, what I tell all the people who are dabbling in the world of plants, if you are going to help them in a plant, help it at any time, waning, growing, in the morning, in the afternoon, at the moment that you are helping it and the plant needs it, help it. Now if you are going to be using the plant, if you are going to harvest something from the plant, you must also give something to her, as the song says. Give me life, give me and take away and give me, and one you should also give it to the plants when the plants are giving you something, and you will see the results with the plants. In the waning season, cuts are usually made, harvests are made, pruning is done. Why?
¿cierto? Está bajita.
Because the activity of the sap is low. In the rest of the seasons of the moon, phases of the moon, the activity of the sap is higher, but if it is a matter of helping the plant, I help it at any time of the moon, in any phase.